Hi guys, it's Mandy from Mandyleeplays, and in this video I'm going to share with you my top 7 picks when it comes to Square Enix games. This company has produced many of the games that we know and love today, and some people might say Square Enix is the king of JRPGs, which yeah, I would have said that myself, but recently we've been kind of seeing better stuff from Monolith Soft. That's just my opinion. But to say that Square has a big impact in the genre is an understatement. They had a huge impact on JRPGs, how we enjoy them, and it introduced a lot of new people to the RPG genre. Square Enix is known for its vast library of titles, some ranging from bad to good and in between. Clearly, their repertoire of games is astounding. Now, to make this video concise, I will only be mentioning the games that I've played. Now, I've played a variety of Square Enix games, but just in case if you don't see one that's here, it's probably because I haven't played it or I didn't like it. But feel free to let me know what your favorite Square Enix game is in the comments down below. If you end up liking this video, then please hit that like button, would appreciate it, and subscribe if you like JRPG content. Now, without further ado, let's get into my list. The first one being Final Fantasy VI. The Final Fantasy series is pretty big when it comes to Square Enix. That is their flagship series. That is the series that defined them, made them, and created everything else was because the success of Final Fantasy. And boy, do they know that. Now, Final Fantasy VI came out in 1994, but I played it for the first time about 2 years ago, and it's one of my favorite mainline Final Fantasy games. It is by definition one of the best Final Fantasy games I have ever played. While I do love 7 and 10, I feel like Final Fantasy VI is something special. Now, because of the SNES platform, they couldn't really flesh out the story like they do in more modern games, but they did a great job with what they got. Most of the characters are amazing, some of them are just weird, and they really hit it home with their big baddie Kefka. Now, I know this game is really old, but there are people who haven't played it yet. Heck, I first played it 2 years ago, so I won't be spoiling what happens in the middle, but the story does take a drastic turn. Now, gameplay wise, it kind of plays like every other previous Final Fantasy game. You get the whole turn-based mechanic, but this turn-based mechanic does have the ATB system, which is the active time battle, so it basically keeps the battle flowing. Now, there are a total of 14 characters who you could interchange in battle, and depending on your scenario, because sometimes the party splits apart, you have to control different groups at different times, which honestly made me love the characters so much because I got to spend a little bit more time with them. Each character does have a unique ability, such as Sabin, Blitz input, where he does his kung fu thing and suplexes a damn train. Cyan uses this Bushido technique, and Terra, of course, is very strong when it comes to magical attacks. So yeah, the gameplay is really fun, a little bit broken if you know what you're doing. And I'm just gonna throw this here. I get intimidated a lot by retro games because they're known to be hard, especially JRPGs. So I was kind of hesitant with playing Final Fantasy VI, and while yes, I did have to pull up a guide here and there, it wasn't bad at all. It is honestly a very beginner-friendly retro game, and playing it through the Pixel Remaster was really good. In short, this is one of my favorite mainline Final Fantasy games. Now, I know some of you are asking, well, which ones did you play? So I've played 6, 7, 10, 13, well, the 13 trilogy, 15, and 16. So if by some reason you haven't played Final Fantasy VI, then I implore you to play it. It is really good. And with the Pixel Remaster, it's way better. Alrighty, time for another old school that I haven't played until a bunch of people told me to play, and then my mind was blown, and that is for Chrono Trigger. Now, this is a game like with Final Fantasy VI that I've played recently for the first time. Now, this dream game was created by Hironobu Sakaguchi, Yuji Horii, and Akira Tomoyama. May he rest in peace. And those 3 guys created something special. A lot of people like to say Chrono Trigger was amazing for its gameplay, the story, but I feel like the time traveling aspect is what really made this game special, because it's really easy to F up time traveling, especially in video games. While it's not accurate, it's very believable, and I feel it is perfect for the story it was trying to convey, especially when it came to the SNES. And I feel like it was simple because it was on the SNES, but that aspect really played well to the game. And a lot of people like to say that the time traveling is a gimmick, but I don't think it's a gimmick, because the game would not be the game without the time traveling aspect. It's as important as the characters, the story, and the gameplay. And throughout this whole time traveling adventure, your main goal is to stop the big baddie Lavos. Now Lavos is weird because he doesn't really do much. He just crashes into a place and spawns little death babies to do his job. So I wouldn't say he's evil, he's more animalistic to me. But besides Lavos, the characters are very compelling, except for Chrono. Chrono is a silent protagonist with a capital S. Good thing the other side characters really pull their weight with their different personalities, likes, and quirks. Now I love how the gameplay is set up because there's no random encounters. Instead, enemies just come out of the woodworks, literally, and position themselves to fight you. Now the battles are a traditional turn-based mechanic, and you could do different attacks depending how your party is positioned. And clocking in at 30 plus hours to beat the game, it's a very short JRPG in our standards. And the game, given its multiple ending nature, does have a lot of replay value. Chrono Trigger isn't just a great JRPG, it is a landmark in gaming history and Square Enix history. So if you love time traveling games, Chrono Trigger you probably already played, but I highly recommend if you haven't played it. This game is legit timeless. And our next game is a great example of a game that initially looks like it's not gonna work, but it does work masterfully. And that is with Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. I will add that most of the Kingdom Hearts games fall into this category. I'm a big Kingdom Hearts girly. I could tell you the lore in and out, but this is not that type of video. Kingdom Hearts 2 takes its weird Frankenstein merger with Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy and really refines it for the second game. It is notoriously weird when it comes to its story and lore, but I feel like that's an aspect that a lot of people love about it, though sometimes it could get quite aggravating. I am looking at you, Black Box from Kingdom Hearts 3, but you could actually enjoy Kingdom Hearts 2 without knowing much of the lore behind it because it really carries itself with the central themes. Kingdom Hearts 2 has a fantastic story and one of the best in the series, though it does suffer from some Nomura aspects, and by that I mean it kind of could get convoluted at some points. So when things get a little bit Nomura, where he Nomuras all over the place, just know that there's a video out there explaining it, or it's not really as important to that point at that moment, except when it comes to time traveling, because oh my god, to this day I still don't really get it, and they clearly didn't learn anything from Chrono Trigger. Alright guys, I got a little bit of a secret. I played Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix first before the first Kingdom Hearts game. Now I do recommend you play the first one eventually, but you could just dive into Kingdom Hearts 2 for your first game. I think it's the perfect start to get people invested into the series. I was astounded on the different worlds that they captured for the Disney characters and how fun they were, where Sora and the gang just blend in seamlessly. And while of course it's not canon to that specific movie, it's still pretty fun. But not only that, you get to interact also with Final Fantasy characters. Now, I don't really like how they integrate the Final Fantasy characters because they retain a lot of their personality traits from the game, but none of their memories from that game. But funny enough though, Sephiroth does remember Cloud and he's hunting Cloud. So Cloud lives in Sephiroth's head rent-free. Confirmed. And of course, you have the original characters and story of Kingdom Hearts. You have the titular Donald, Goofy, and Mickey, who are mainstays of the series, which honestly work. The whole balance between the original stuff and the Disney stuff is really meshed in well, but the biggest thing that makes Kingdom Hearts 2 fantastic is the gameplay. It is the best style gameplay that I've seen in any Kingdom Hearts game or any game in general. It's just really good. The gameplay is fluid, fast, and exhilarating, and very customizable from the different keyblades to the different abilities that you put on Sora. Now, Donald and Goofy are not the best as CPUs, especially Donald. You're gonna freaking hate Donald. And also you have the dive forms, which is another aspect I love about the game. So it just enables Sora to transform mid-battle to take advantage of their special abilities, like his final form, where he essentially has a bunch of keyblades droids around him and he looks pretty cool. Now, I don't know why they didn't repeat the same gameplay with Kingdom Hearts 3. Because Kingdom Hearts 3 is a bit floaty. Like, I have a hard time having my Sora on the damn floor. So with the story being great and the gameplay being downright fantastic, Kingdom Hearts 2 is one of Square Enix's finest examples of don't judge a book by its cover. It is a really awesome game. Highly recommend. Now the next pick is a more niche game in the Square Enix repertoire, and that is with The World Ends With You. Now, funny enough, I got introduced to The World Ends With You because it had a collaboration with Kingdom Hearts in Dream Drop Distance, and then I was like, oh, who are these people? Quickly Googled it, and I found out it was its own game. So then I picked it up, and I really loved it. And I hope they keep supporting it. They did make a sequel, Neo: The World Ends With You. It didn't do well in sales, though. There wasn't that much promotion or marketing, and the game is already a niche series. I felt like they could have done more, but here we are. I am happy to do my due diligence to make this game known to more people. But dunking on Square Enix marketing aside, The World Ends With You has a title that really resonates with me and I could never forget because it's so unique. In my opinion, one of the best strengths in The World Ends With You is the setting. So essentially it takes place in Shibuya, Tokyo, which this might sound a little bit weird, but in the story it feels like the setting itself has its own character and personality. So it's not just a cool backdrop that they use, they really make the most of the story and the gameplay to really feel and fit into Shibuya. This game originally came out for the DS, so its gameplay uses a lot of the DS functions, which sadly did not translate as well on the Switch version. So it's kind of a wacky gameplay, not gonna lie. And even though it's a bit weird on the Switch, it still keeps the frantic gameplay style. I really enjoyed it. And with the battle system, you use these things called pins, and you could collect pins in different areas. Now the pins can be somewhat gimmicky at times, but there's a whole variety of them. Now the characters in this game are awesome too, and they all have their own story to tell. Though what sets The World Ends With You apart is the narrative. You play as Neku, a very lone wolf style character. So essentially in the beginning you die and you're transported into this alternate Shibuya where you and a bunch of other people who died play out so they could have a second chance of life. Obviously there's more to it than that and there's different rules, but that is the general gist of it. The story is just really cool. Like most of these games, it focuses on friendship and connections. And hopefully if you're first hearing about this game through me, that you pick it up and enjoy it because I really do recommend it. Now the next game is a bit of an underrated gem, but not as much as The World Ends With You. Bravely Default has to be one of those games that on paper and in the game, especially in the beginning, it runs like a traditional fantasy game, but then towards the end they kind of like pull the rug under you, and honestly I loved it. Anyways, if you don't know what the heck I'm talking about, let's start from the beginning. Bravely Default was made by the people who made Octopath Traveler. Now what I loved about Bravely Default besides the story is the different job systems and asterisks, and when you equip the job to a character they have a little different outfit. I just really love that detail, and each character has their own version of that outfit. But it's not just outfits, these asterisks are different, that offer different abilities, and it gives you a lot of options to customize your party and really have fun with the game. And there's also the Brave and Default mechanic. So default mode is you're essentially holding on to defense. Now Brave is basically if you want to use up all those turns in one go, but you lose a turn for 4 different turns. Now it's a very subtle gameplay mechanic, but it's very effective in making it fun and different. Now as for the story, it is rooted in classical fantasy kind of tropes. You have 4 crystals, 4 characters, you beat the crystal and the baddie, but it does take a very unique turn. You have Tiz, Anya's, Adele, yes, the girlie over there is one of the 4 characters and she's my favorite obviously, and Ring a Bell. And you're with that party throughout the whole game and you just go to love them so much. So the story just follows the 4 characters trying to revive the different crystals and help restore the world. For anyone who hasn't played it, I implore you to play it. It is really good. It's not as underrated as The World Ends With You, but a lot of people still don't really know about it, and that's a crime. time. Talking on Bravely Default, the next game is Octopath Traveler 2. What makes Octopath Traveler really different is in the name. So essentially, you're playing 8 stories in one. Now this game does have the titular HD 2D graphics, which I just love. I love graphics like that. It's really, really beautiful. So the story of Octopath Travelers, or the stories, center around 8 characters, each with their own unique backstories and motivations for going on a journey. With Octopath Traveler games, you essentially have to pick your first character, but throughout your adventure, you can switch different perspectives to a different character. And each of the characters' journey takes you all over the world. For the sake of convenience, your party is the 8 characters that you have along the way. The 8 characters are Ochet, the animal wrangler, Agnia the dancer, which was my first pick, Hikari, the ninja warrior prince, Cassidy, the herbal medicine nurse, Oswald, the scholar and magic user, Particio, the merchant, Temenos, the priest detective, and Throne, the thief. I feel like Octopath Traveler 2 really excels in balancing a lot of the personal tales with the overarching story. Oh yeah, there is an overarching story where all the characters have to come together, though it's not as strong as the individual plot lines. For the battling, it's a traditional turn-based mechanic, but it does have its own twist to it, and that is with the latent powers. So essentially, the latent powers are a all-out attack that does a lot of damage. And it does have this break mechanic, which really encourages you to hit the enemy in the weak spot so they could break, and then you could just do a bunch of damage. And while not the most uniquest battle systems I've seen, it is still very, very solid and fun. Alrighty, now to the last game, and sorry the pun, but this game is very near to me. Nier Automata. It is one of my favorite games of all time, and for good reason. To me, Nier is not just a game, it's an experience that pushes the boundaries of what a video game can achieve. This may sound really sappy, but it's true. It really takes the medium of video games and uses it to impact the story and immerse yourself more into the story. But it really takes the whole storytelling to another level. Now directed by one of my favorite developers, Taro, Nier Automata takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where androids fight an endless battle against machines. As you pull back the curtain, it becomes apparent that Nier Automata is built different, and I love that about it. I feel like there was a lot of love and most importantly research in making this game to make its themes more impactful. When you finish an ending, you roll credits, but that's not just it. There's more to the story. If you know, you know. But if story is not the only thing you like, the gameplay has you covered, because this game was made with the help of Platinum Games, who you might know from their work on Bayonetta and Astral Chain. So the gameplay is very hack and slash and very fast paced. It is ridiculously fun. The world and story of Nier Automata is very bleak and sad, but with the gameplay you're gonna have fun through all that bleakness and sadness. I guarantee that. Obvious is obvious. I do highly recommend this game. I've mentioned this in a lot of my list videos for a reason. Music, good. Gameplay, good. Story, just good. Characters, good. It just has it all. Am I a bit fangirly about it? Yes. And to me, this might sound corny, but it proves that video games are not just entertaining time wasters, but they could portray a really impactful story with its unique medium. And yes, it does have big booties and android chicks. So that is it for today's video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. I just wanted to highlight my favorite games from the Square Enix vault. Hopefully I could do a video for this for other big JRPG developers like Atlas or Gust, but for now, it's just Square Enix. And feel free to let me know your favorite Square Enix games or your least favorite Square Enix games in the description down below. I would love to hear it. I'm always looking for some new games to play. So that is it for today's video. If you liked, then hit that like button, would appreciate it, and it does help a lot. And if you love the channel and all my JRPG videos, then please consider subscribing. I'm trying to get to 10K by the end of the year. Hopefully I make it. You can follow me in my socials in the description down below. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the day, and as always, play a good game. Peace.